Alright, time for Paladin. We've got the one cost Rise to the Occasion questline. Play 3 different one cost cards. Reward, equip a Light's Justice. 1 power weapon with four durability. Okay, you're gonna play early game cards anyways. You're gonna have to fill your deck with them, or play just first day of school, or some of the cards we'll see later, to get a Light's Justice. Not a great payoff, but it does help you fight for the board with your one cost 2/1s and 1/2s and if you're lucky 2/2s. It's the first part of the reward kind of slow. We're gonna have to need to get some more action out of this. But the first payoff, play 3 different one-cost cards. Reward, upgrade your hero power. And now we're getting stronger, and we've seen in the past that an upgraded hero power is just good. Being able to drop 2/1/1s into play is a lot more pressure than what the game is balanced around. So you could get some good effects off of that. Next, finally, we're going to get the questline, play 3 different one-cost cards. Reward, Lightborn, Cariel, 5 cost, 7/7, Battle Cry for the rest of the game. Your Silver Hand recruits have +2/+2, and of course, since you've gotten this far, your hero power already generates 2 of them. So, really, you're talking about a hero power that's on par with Infernal from Draxus. So, largely, we can base this card off of Draxus, and is it better? Is it worse? Well, first off, to complete the whole thing, you need 9 one-cost spells, which if the earliest you could do that is by turn 4. If on turn 2, turn 3, and turn 4 you did nothing but play one-cost spells, your cards generated other one-cost spells. Now, First Day of School does that, and it gives you 2 extra ones. So if one of your cards is First Day of School, you could pretty easily proc this. You also have the ability to play a one-cost 1/1 that draws you a holy spell, which you can make sure is a one-cost spell. So that becomes 2 spells. We're going to see a spell later that discovers a secret, costs 1, finds 1. So all of these cards can count for double, which means that your entire deck does not need to be ones. But I will say this, that I don't think people are exploring the option of actually just making your deck all ones. With very few, probably just legendary, other cards, if your deck has, we'll say 26 one cost, that's a lot, but 26 one cost cards, then you will complete this by turn 4. Which means that not only did you get an extra weapon to help punch with, but you also drew a 5 cost 7/7, which is going to be your new turn 5 play. And then every turn for the rest of the game, you're going to cast 2 3/3s. That's a ton of pressure. And that might be so fast that no other deck can compete with it in speed. Even Face Hunter eventually slows down a little bit, and it goes into the mode of like stack up rhinos and build rhinos and put those on. If you're playing 3 cards every turn, 3/1/1s even, but then you're starting to churn out 2 3/3s starting on turn 6. That's quite a lot of pressure. And if some of your effects are pumping the guys you have in play, or secrets like Omayog that are disrupting your opponent, that could be really good as well. The interesting thing with this, the secrets, you're not going to be able to play 2 of the same, so you might gum up your draw a little bit there. First Day of School, very clunky. Sometimes you might get some dead cards. You're also not playing a card on turn 1, so you're going to have to catch up a little bit. Is this the sort of card that you build with 25 one-cost cards in your deck? I think it's worth exploring. I think we should check out whether or not that's good. Do they give us more one-cost cards in the future? We already have 2 Divine Shield minions, one of which has Taunt. We already have draw a Holy Spell. These are cards that are good. Tour Guide is a good card. Even Safety Inspector to help churn through some of our cards if we have dead secrets in our hand, for example, on top of being a 1-cost 1/3. There's some interesting effects we could go through. If you're getting this on curve, it's obviously fantastic. Now, let's talk about the other situation where you put, let's say, 12 of these cards in your deck, and most of which generate extras, right? 1-cost 1/1 draws you a Holy Spell, might be another 1/1. You're putting secrets in your deck. Abilities to find extra secrets. You're putting 2 1/1s with Divine Shield into your deck. Maybe Tour Guide's already a deck. Maybe Penflinger's in your deck. There's a lot of ways to to fuel this without putting too much action, and then you can put a lot of heavy hitters in your deck because you've already taken care of all your early turns. You've said, all right, I'm good, I'm strong, I'm going to be churning out these cards, and they might all be slightly subpar, but the fact that they're all there and I get many of them especially by turn 5, makes my deck very, very consistent. Um, Not to mention something like equality effects that exist for Paladin and Lord Barov. Like, if all your guys are 1/1 anyway, and you can very easily just wipe a board against mid-range matchups, which might be your worst ones. It could be that this is just very well supported because of the way the games play out. Now, let's take the other side, where you just put the most efficient cards in, and then you play Libram Paladin, for example. Well, it's already got a 1-cost 1/3. You've got multiple 1-cost secrets in your deck. If you're playing the secret Librams, there's already a lot of cards that you can put in, and you can actually complete this quest on as little as 4 cards. And over the course of the game, that becomes very easy. And then you're playing a 5-cost 7/7, and then your hero power is busted for the whole game. On top of that, you might have other cards that generate extra silver hand recruits. So I think it's a very exciting card. It's definitely a build around card. If it's good, it's great, and I think they might still give us more support. I'm not surprised that we got a card like this in United and Stormwind to get a Paladin card. But I'm going to give it 3 stars. I think it's an exciting card. You definitely build around it. It's got a lot of options. It might not be good yet. I think the sky is the limit, though, and it might at some point just be completely preposterously good. They definitely give us a couple extra 1-drops to look at, and that makes it exciting. And you already have cards like Conviction that are very happy to be played on turn 5 as 1-cost cards, and that might give this deck a lot of reach. Deck's very, very exciting. All right, Catacomb Guard. 3-cost 1/4, life steal. Battle Cry, deal damage equal to this minion's attack to an enemy minion. Let's say nothing else happens. 3-cost 1/4, obviously not very happy to do that. Lifesteal makes it a little bit better. The fact that it can ping something makes it a little bit better. It's almost playable as is. Now, the Paladin got a lot of hand buffing effects. And if you hand buff this once, it immediately turns into a very good card. 3-cost 2/5. You like the stats on that. Lifesteal makes it that much better. And you're shooting something for 2. And you're getting life off that, means you're probably swinging all the aggro matchups in your favor with this card. So very, very important for the type of decks where you're spending time to hand buff. You need to be able to fight back with the cards that you get. Blade Master Samuro was the ultimate example of this. Catacomb Guard gives you non-legendary. It doesn't have quite the sweeping effect, but much more consistent. You can get it a turn earlier, and you're dropping as a 2/5 in a lot of situations. This card is great. It doesn't go in every deck. It's a 3-star Paladin card. In the hand buffing deck, which has been good, and Rush Warrior has shown us that conditioning is good, so these cards are probably going to be good together. This card's just going to be really, really solid. In Limited, there's not going to be enough redundancy on your ability to buff your hand. This card's not going to be that good, so 2 stars. As a 3-cost 1/4, it's not good. Actually, you know what? We have to give it 1 star because it's niche. You have to already have hand buff. You need to be able to buff it. And if you do, then it becomes playable. It's not going to swing a whole strategy for you just to have 1 shock effect for 2 damage. Prismatic Jewel Kit. This is the engine that could. 1-cost weapon, good for your quest. 3 durability, very important. After a friendly minion loses Divine Shield, give minions in your hand +1/+1. Well, you already have access to 4 copies of 1-cost minions in your deck. You can do this very easily. Plus your other effects that give Divine Shield. Hand buffing for an exceptionally good hand buff if you get it multiple times. This is like a conditioning that you have to start plugging away at earlier. You have to do a little bit more work, but the payoff should be great. And you're also doing it with Divine Shield, which is like double dipping into your hand buff, because the buff counts twice. Divine Shield creatures have to be fought twice. So unless they're using a removal spell that says destroy target creature, you're going to get those creatures multiple times. This is a build around card. It's very important. I think you completely base the deck around this because it's the most reliable source of multiple hand buffs. This card's a 3-star card for Constructed, 1-star for Arena. All right, next we have Noble Mount. 2 cost, give a minion +1/+1 and Divine Shield. When it dies, summon a 1/1 Divine Shield. This is 2 sources of Divine Shield creatures, which is important for fueling up the Prismatic Jewel Kit. It's probably not going to help you win fights with the +1/+1. It might though, and when it does, it's obviously very, very good. But again, remember that this +1/+1 counts twice because of Divine Shield. So this card's just very, very solid. It's going to be very good in Arena as well. It's not Battering Ram good, but it's going to help you probably win a fight and then also have a big creature that they have to deal with. So this card gets a lot of good action. Happy to play it in both formats. I'm going to give it 2 stars in Standard and 3 stars in Arena. I should say the reason it's not getting more effect in Standard, because it's not in and of itself a creature. It becomes a creature, but is a spell. So when you're playing this hand buff, you want Dark Moon Riders off of bumper cards. You want creatures that end up in your hand. You don't want extra spells that are forcing you to, or that aren't getting buffed. And you need a lot of redundancy in those cases. The second type of card that we got for Paladins and Unita in Stormwind is actually like a Highlander style. It looks like they're supporting the solo Paladin. You could picture him potentially holding the Sword of 1,000 Truths. This single Paladin threat that maybe plays control, has equality effects to Consecrate or Lord Bearer of the board. And then you have cards like City Tax that go along with it. 2 cost, tradable, which means it's never dead. Lifesteal, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. Maybe you have spell damage in your deck. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just use this to fight for early board. Maybe you use this alongside your Silverhand recruits to just help chip away at their creatures little by little. This card's great. It's always going to be at least fine because you can trade it away. There are some matchups where it's going to be great. I don't think the support is quite there yet to make a Highlander Paladin, but it's close. They give us a couple good cards for it. It's certainly very interesting. This card gets 3 stars just on its merits. I don't think it has a home yet, though. So I don't think it sees a ton of play right away, but it's the sort of card that is going to give us a lot of questions as new sets come out. You're always going to be asking, well, what about Highlander Paladin? What about City Tax and effects like this? In Arena, dealing 1 damage is historically not good enough, but again, it's tradable. So you're putting it in every deck. You're happy to play it. It'll help you thin the deck towards your bombish creatures. And it also lets you play a higher curve because it's a common that deals 1 damage to enemy minions. So you can catch up on a board fairly easily. It's also got lifesteal, so you could very easily catch up, ping down the guys that were out curving you. You maybe kill one of the guys, 4/4 that fought your 3/4, for example. It dies, you deal 1 damage to something else, 1 damage to something else, you gain 3 life. You're just instantly back in the game. I don't think it's quite good enough to get 3 stars for Arena, but maybe because that tradable effect just means it's always good. But we'll give it 2 stars for Arena. Next, we have First Blade of Rin. 4 cost 3/5 Divine Shield. Key. Battle Cry gains rush if this has at least 4 attack. Well, here we go with another hand buff effect. If you hand buff it, this card is great. 4 cost 4/6 Divine Shield Rush is fantastic. It's going to be probably a 2-for-1 at least, maybe a 3-for-1. All you need to do is hand buff it once, and then it becomes those great things. So very, very strong card. It's definitely a strong card in the hand buff deck. I'm going to give it 3 stars because even if you only have some ancillary effects, a 4 cost 3/5 is still fine. It's not good, but it's fine. It's not going to kill you to play a 4 cost 3/5 in your deck. It has Divine Shield, which already makes it better than most other cards, and it has upside that is pretty astronomical. Unfortunately, it is a Battle Cry effect that gains rush, so you can't put this in play and then buff it to give it rush. But if you're hand buffing it, this card becomes insanely strong. In Arena, the fact that it's a 4 cost 3/5 Divine Shield makes it already a great card. And if you just happen to buff it, great, it'll be fantastic. It's getting 3 stars because it's always going to be at least solid for you. All right, next we were talking about the Highlander Paladin. We've got Lightbringer's Hammer, 3 cost weapon with 2 durability, which I don't like, but 3 attack, which is good. Life Steal, which is great on a weapon. Can't attack heroes. This is purely a control the early board sort of card. Uh, Luckily, in most situations, this is enough power to kill all 1, 2, and 3 drops. So you're also not going to take the damage that would normally otherwise kill you by using an early weapon as a control element because you're getting the life steal. In some cases, you're going to net more life back. There might be some situations where you can buff your weapon, maybe. Like I said before, I don't think the support is there for Highlander Paladin, but this card is very cool. It opens doors. This, in combination with City Tax, gives us lifesteal ways to sustain an early game for a mid to heavy Paladin deck or even a Highlander deck. So very interesting. It'll be an important role player for that deck if it comes along. It's not nearly as good as some of the other pieces. So 2 stars for constructed. In Arena, um, where you want your weapons to kill creatures always, this is fine that it doesn't go face. Um, it's going to be a 3-star card for Arena. You're probably going to kill 2 creatures, or at least help sway the fight for 2 creatures without using your life total, which can matter if you get into a racing situation. It's just a very strong card to help play for board. Next, we have Alliance Bannerman, 3 cost 2/2. Battle Cry, draw a minion. Fantastic. Give minions in your hand +1/+1. This is the most important card for the hand buff deck. Uh, it's already potentially, you'd say that 3 cost 2/3 draw a card is like the balance point for cards. And it's like you're fine playing that, and then if it's better than that, great. 3 cost 2/2 draw a minion, so you're getting a very specific type of card, can help you in your deck. And buff it by +1/+1 means you're already getting like 3 cost 3/3 worth of stats, plus you're thinning your deck, plus you're getting presumably better, even better cards or another Bannerman. Makes this card exceptionally powerful. You're going to be churning through your deck and making sure that you're getting the buffs for your Blade Master Cimaros, for your Rin, and for a 1/4 lifesteal that loves to be a 2/5. That'd be so much better. It gives you redundancy. I think there's a lot of cool effects, and again, every card that you draw with this, even your 1-drops, you're happy to get because now they're going to be 2/2 Divine Shield, and the buff counts twice. This card's absolutely outstanding for the deck, so it gets 3 stars. Uh, it's tough to say whether or not it goes in every deck. It probably does because it's like Primal Dungeoneer levels of good, as far as getting you another minion, buffing it. Uh, it's just definitely always paying for itself. It's probably that good. I I'm hesitant to give it the 4-star tag. There are certainly the possibilities where it ends up in a deck where you're only playing 6 creatures in like a Highlander style deck, and it's going to help you draw legendaries for a Wallet Paladin style, just playing heavy threats. That's definitely where it's going to shine. Um, there's a lot of applications. I'm almost tempted to give it 4 stars, but we're going to cap it at 3. In Arena, this card's great. 3 cost 2/2, buff a guy, draw a guy, buff a guy. Absolutely fantastic card. You're going to put this in your deck. It's 3 stars. Again, almost at 4. There are other cards that definitely just, this is just a consistent card that is very good all the time. It's not like a game-breaking card the way some other cards can be. So not quite 4. Next is Blessed Goods, a blessed gift for the quest line because it is guaranteed, at least if you want it to be, 2 1-cost spells. Now, you could already be playing a secret and draw a redundant copy. You don't really have control over that because you're only seeing 1 each of a secret weapon or divine shield minion. Um, but most likely you're going to be able to have access to ones. Your divine shield minion might also be either of the 2 1/1s that are available in the paladin class. And then the weapons aren't that great, apart from Naru. The elemental weapon is obviously fantastic. If you ever hit that off of this card, you're exceedingly pleased. Um, a lot of the bad weapons that paladins have are actually generated off of spells, so you're usually getting an average weapon with this, and sometimes a great weapon. The secrets are, meh, you probably want to see Omayog more than most other cards. And Divine Shield minions are just always good. They're always going to be at least fine. So this card's going to see a lot of play in a lot of decks. It is an enormous boon for the questline deck. So I'm going to give this 3 stars, which is higher than most. I think a lot of it will depend on the pool of Divine Shield minions, um, which can rotate, and we'll see. But I'm happy to play this and pick up a Dark Moon dirigible and just play it. So I think that as like a baseline for this card, I'm pretty happy playing this card. In Arena, it's because it can hit you a Divine Shield minion means it's always going to be at least solid. Weapons being great in Arena is also good, and you might find the right secret for the right situation if they have an 8/8, and you just might find like a Reckoning. It's not going to be very consistent. You're happy to put it in your deck always. It's not going to be the swing card, so it gets 2 stars. All right, time for a payoff card. Legendary High Lord 4 Dragon, 6 cost 5/5 Divine Shield, which again we're going to count its stats twice, makes it already well costed. After a friendly minion loses Divine Shield, give a minion in your hand +5/+5. This card's great. If you ever buff a Samuro, that's obviously game changing. If you buff a Lifesteal 1/4 and turn it into a 6/9 Lifesteal that comes in and presumably kills a guy, that's also really good. Under most situations, you are going to be able to control this effect to the extent that you can play it, and it by itself will lose Divine Shield eventually and buff a guy in your hand, and then you have that effect to go on the board. That makes it good. If you just get that effect, it's good. Sometimes you're going to have a creature with Divine Shield in play, and if you play this and you have such a board state, you immediately create an enormous swing in statistics. This card is metagame warping because every deck suddenly needs to worry about 12/12s out of the Paladin class. It is not hard to see a world where you even on turn 7 you might play this card and smash with whatever creatures you have in play, and then drop a 1 mana 6/6 or maybe even a 1 mana 11/11 with Divine Shield nonetheless. That's pretty game breaking. This card's going to see a ton of play. I think it's good by itself. I think it's good enough by itself that it makes it into deck lists just on its own merits, and the fact that there's hand buff cards that can be exceptionally strong with these synergies, and on top of that, you're playing Divine Shield cards in your deck, so you're probably buffing a Divine Shield creature. This gets a lot of gas. This is borderline 4-star card. I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I think it's the sort of card that every Paladin deck is going to want to play. It's way too much value to ignore, and if anything, it's a little bit slow, but in a deck that has access to so many small creatures, I think this has a lot of uses. If it's not 4-star in Standard, it is definitely 4-star in Arena. This is probably the best card Paladin has seen for Arena. The body itself is enough to make your opponent squirm, and the fact that you're buffing up your next creature to be that big, even if you get no other Divine Shields in your deck, which is unlikely because you're playing Paladin, it's still just 5/5 that they need to deal with twice, plus the at least 6/6 that's in your hand for cheap. This card is exceptionally powerful. That does it for Paladin. Paladin is an exciting class. I'm definitely excited to try 25 1-drop deck and see if the game just plays out where it's just pressing on your opponent. It's just, death by 1,000 paper cuts with the weight of 2 3/3s coming out every turn starting on turn 6. That waves of power that's coming at them is probably good enough. I'm really excited to build with it. The hand buff deck is completely unique. So is the Highlander deck. They're completely new, so it'll be fun to see what sort of decks emerge from that. Most of those cards don't necessarily fit into the other existing archetypes, except for, like we said, the bomb. That guy's just so good. The 4 dragon. It'll be interesting to see which one of those emerges as the best class for competitive. There's certainly a lot of fun things to do with it, and there's definitely going to be those moments where you're just like, yep, here's my huge squirrel or whatever. Argent Squire, that's a 16/16. Ha ha ha, deal with it. That sort of interaction could come up, so I'm excited.